One of Rudy Giuliani's partners in crime, who has actually been indicted by the federal government, is now flipping and announcing his cooperation with the impeachment inquiry. Giuliani's friends and partners Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman have been indicted for their activities involving Ukraine. Rudy Giuliani is a continuing subject of that criminal investigation. And now, after dropping a lawyer who once represented Donald Trump, Lev Parnas is saying through his new lawyer that he will cooperate with the impeachment inquiry by testifying and supplying documents subpoenaed by Congress. The New York Times reports tonight that Lev Parnas' change of heart has to do directly with Donald Trump, who denied knowing Lev Parnas after his arrest. Quote, Mr. Parnas was very upset by President Trump's plainly false statement that he did not know him, said Joseph Bondi, whose client has maintained that he has had extensive dealings with the president. Chuck Rosenberg is back with us. Chuck, what do you make of this flip, at least in relation to the congressional inquiry? How does a witness say, not a witness, but a defendant in a criminal case, say, I'm willing to testify as a witness in this same matter to Congress while I'm awaiting trial in this criminal case?
Precisely the right question, Lawrence. So it's perilous, right? Until he resolves his criminal case in the Southern District of New York, either by pleading guilty or going to trial and being acquitted or convicted, he has a huge problem. Anything he says publicly could be used against him in that trial. And so maybe it means he's trying to resolve the criminal case, perhaps by pleading guilty, but we don't know that yet. Or perhaps he wants to help Congress but can't do that just now because he's limited in what he can say. He has a couple of gates he needs to get through. But I will say this. Most defendants become convicted felons, and most convicted felons look for a way to cooperate in order to reduce their sentence.
And he still has the Fifth Amendment available to him. And his lawyer makes that clear, that if he does testify to Congress and if he does have Fifth Amendment interests that he must protect, he will. But that could conceivably leave some pretty big areas that they could explore in his testimony.
Sure, that's right. But I think if he wants to cut a deal, the way to do it is to do it it's sort of a global resolution, meaning to resolve the case with the Southern District of New York, to agree to cooperate with any state, federal, or local prosecutor who wants his help, and as part of that, to help Congress if they seek his testimony as part of the impeachment inquiry. You know, again, he does have a Fifth Amendment privilege. He has a pending case, and so I understand why he wants to cooperate, but he has a good attorney now. I know one of them, and I respect him, and I think they're going to be very careful with what he says before that trial, before that open matter in the Southern District of New York, Lawrence, is resolved.
I just want to remind the audience how shocking this new posture is with his previous legal posture, because his previous legal posture was so shocking, enunciated by John Dowd, who had worked as Donald Trump's lawyer for a while. John Dowd said that that Mr. Parnas's testimony could include attorney-client privilege because he was working with Rudy Giuliani, therefore part of the president's legal team, and so he would somehow fall under the attorney-client privilege that would exist between Donald Trump and Rudy Giuliani. And then also, Dowd referred to other privileges, possibly executive privilege of the president would somehow extend to this defendant.
Yeah, I think the legal word for that, Lawrence, is nonsense. And by the way, just so you, and I'm sure your viewers remember this, Michael Cohen at one point professed that he was going to take a bullet for Mr. Trump and then was eager to testify against him, including an open session in Congress. And so, again, most defendants become convicted felons, and most convicted felons look for ways to cooperate. I imagine Mr. Parnas is going to look for a way to cooperate. He has good attorneys to guide him through this thicket.
Chuck Rosenberg gets tonight's last word. Thanks for joining us, Chuck. Really appreciate it. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on the button below for more from The Last Word and the rest of MSNBC.